Political Science 360 Special Edition Bill of Rights. Now on air with Joe Smith, Jermaine Miller, and Thaddeus Jackson.
To kick off the show today, we have a very special man, the writer of the Bill of Rights, George Mason. How are you doing today, Mr. Mason? Anything interesting?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Well, I just joined the Sunday Bowling League.
Alright, Mr. Mason, let's get this ball rolling. Seeing as how you wrote the Bill of Rights, what does the First Amendment state?
It allows you to practice freedom of religion, freedom of speech, which allows you to say anything you want without being afraid, freedom of writing and printing anything you want. You can assemble whenever you want, and associate means you can be from any group without worrying about any consequences.
That's interesting. What does the Second Amendment say?
Every person wants to protect themselves. By bearing arms essentially means they have the right to have a firearm in their possession and use it to protect themselves as they see fit.
So now that you've answered that question, I'm going to shoot you another question. What does the Third Amendment discuss?
The military is not allowed to quarter troops in the home of a civilian without the consent of the owner. Therefore, the owner has the right to say no to quarter troops.
That's all the questions I had for you today, George. It was a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully we can have you back soon. Maybe next week.
Likewise. About next week, have your guys call my guys.
Thank you, Thaddeus Jackson. That was a superb job. Now we move on to Joe Smith interviewing one of the greats.
Hi, I am Joe Smith, and on today's show we have the pleasure to interview Thomas Jefferson. How's it going, Mr. Jefferson?
It's going, Joe.
So that's good to hear. So let's get on with this interview.
Let's do it to it.
What does the Fourth Amendment mean?
That's a good question. Well, the Fourth Amendment means the authority is not allowed to search or seize anything from a person without the proper documentation or any probable cause.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. How would you explain the Fifth Amendment in a simpler form?
In a simpler form, it would mean that an individual cannot be charged with a crime if at the time it was committed there was no law against it. It also allows you to refuse to answer any question that can find you incriminated.
That's good to know. What does the Sixth Amendment discuss?
It discusses that a person is entitled to a trial as soon as possible, instead of waiting years for the trial to happen and being in prison not knowing if he or she is innocent or not.
Sorry, Mr. Jefferson. It seems like we've run out of time.
But there's more elaborating to be done.
But Mr. Jefferson, we don't have any time left.
But I'm not finished.
No, really, we're out of time.
But wait!
This is Joe Smith, signing off. Now, back to the studio.
Thank you, Joe Smith. Now, I'm going to send you guys off to Jermaine Miller, where he is ready to give you guys another insightful interview.
And our final guest for today, I'd like to welcome our 40th President, Ronald Reagan. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Reagan. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Alright, Mr. Reagan, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Please answer them correctly.
I'll try my best, mate.
To begin with, I'd like to ask you, what does the Seventh Amendment state?
This one's easy. 3 words. Trial by jury.
For the next question, what does the Eighth Amendment discuss?
The 8th Amendment discusses that the prisoners has protection against cruel and unusual punishment.
That's a beautiful answer. Well put. What does the Ninth Amendment say?
The 9th Amendment says that the rights that are not listed in the Constitution are retained by the people.
And for our final question, what does the Tenth Amendment say?
In the 10th Amendment, If the Constitution is not given a certain power to the national government or denied it to the states, then the power is reserved for the states.
Alright, well, lucky for you, that was our last question. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. And that's Political Science 360 for the night.
I'm Thaddeus Jackson.
And I'm Jermaine Miller.
Have a great life.
Next week on Political Science 360, things get messy.
There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat your children. Praise be to Allah.
Come on, Mike, why does it have to be that way?